Well, as Bob said, my name's Andrew White, and I'm an art director and also a director for a small company called On 101. And what I'm going to do is, first of all, I'm going to show you a couple of pieces of work which we've actually produced recently, and then I'll go back to actually how I got there. Our main focus is for museums and galleries and visitor centres, and we produce videos for them, and we produce interactive pieces. So it's the kind of things where you're walking around and you've got interactive exhibits. We've done everything from real-time 3D exhibits to all kinds of stuff. So I'll show you a very recent piece. Get rid of that one, the stars. This is something which we produced for an exhibition at the British Library. It's called Sacred. Now these are actually 3 screens which are as you actually walk into the exhibition, and it's all about religion. It's all about the religions and how they're actually sort of similar to each other. These people have all got little sort of descriptions of what they are, and some of them say they're believers and so on, and some of them sort of like just show their everyday parts of their life. So some of them might be a designer, one of them might eat ice creams or anything. And so I'll just show this just for a minute. Oh, where's the soundtrack? Oh, there we go. With sound as well.
Where was this for?
This is for the British Library. They've got a small, actually it is quite big, it's an exhibition space. They've got all the sacred books which they've got actually at the British Library. And we just had to do we did this intro piece, and we did another piece as well, which I'm going to have just running while I'm talking in a minute. And that was around 3 sacred books, which are fantastic books, and there's a sort of like curtain around them, and we projected onto 4 sides, and just as an ambient piece. But this is the intro part. And we did some interactive work for them as well. So this is almost like a sort of title sequence, really, for the actual exhibition as you walk in. Okay, that's one side of what we do, and then we also do a lot of interactive exhibits. This one's a bit older. I'll close that. And it was for the Carinian Museum in Cirencester. And this is quite sort of typical in a way of sort of some things we get, where we're actually, people will come to us, like a museum or an exhibition designer will actually come to us and ask us to, they might have some coins that they want to sort of like, they want to show some information on. And they haven't necessarily got a particularly good idea about what they want to do. Oh, we've got these great coins, and we want to actually sort of just give people some information about them. So we decided to actually create these characters that are actually based on characters in Roman Carinium at the time, and drew these people up. And they are actually sort of like trying to find the coin which relates to them, and they give a description of it when you choose one.
I am Danicus, a soldier in the Roman army. The coin I'm looking for is made of silver.
And it's focused towards children as well.
As a fitting tribute to the conqueror of Britain. Touch the coin and think the character.
I happen to notice this one.
This coin is a denarius. That's right.
So then it gives you sort of like some feedback. So it's a sort of like simple kind of game, really. Now we've done loads of other things as well, but while I'm talking, I'm just going to run the other piece as well, which we did for Sacred, which, as I said before, was running on 4 sides of the exhibition with sacred books around it. Set it on loop. This is very much an ambient piece. I wanted it to kind of almost be like sort of being in a religious building with sort of stained glass windows and so on. So it's meant to be just sort of setting a scene. There's no sound on it or anything. It's very sort of relaxed. Now, so that's basically what we're up to now. I actually went to college at St Martin's. So LCP was always kind of considered to be the enemy, I suppose, at the time. But there you go. And it was quite a long time ago. At the time, there wasn't really any multimedia around or anything. In fact, the sort of like computers we used to use were just little tiny sort of like Macs, the little sort of like square Mac pluses that you used to get. And I was quite interested in them, but my main focus was actually on animation and filmmaking. But at the time, at St Martin's, it was really hard to actually get into the animation film side because the part downstairs had full-time filmmakers and animators as well. So it was hard to actually get hold of the equipment and actually use it. And at the same time, there started to be a lot of computers around. There's 2CXs and these little Macs. And I started to get interested in what I could do with those as well. And it was around the time when Hypercard and stuff was around and Supercard was starting to develop. And it seemed like an interesting way to go. And but when I first left college, literally used to just do a few sort of like little jobs with people, mostly sort of like freelancing, and a lot of things with people. It was very sort of speculative at the time, and I've worked with Bob occasionally, with this guy called Fletcher, and a few other people as well. And it was literally, you'd be doing projects that often didn't actually come to a realisation. After a while, one of the companies I actually worked for was this company called Inform, and they were originally a lighting design company, and they actually developed into this area where they were producing kiosks as well, and for sort of like Amex and stuff. It was quite sort of boring stuff, basically. But the guy that was actually running it was really interested in multimedia, really sort of fancied sort of like moving into it, and so we actually did a lot of projects which were quite sort of speculative, and ended up sort of like in sort of the beginning of the whole of the internet, and sort of like doing lots of CD-ROMs and things like that. And that company then moved on to, actually eventually got bought out by Icon Media Lab by the time I'd left. So I'd started off as freelance, but then I ended up being the art director and creative director for new media at this company. After I'd been there for a while though, I realised that a lot of the work that they were actually doing was very corporate. And although I'd occasionally bring in a project that wasn't so corporate, I realised that actually that wasn't really where I wanted to focus. So then I decided that on the back of actually being asked to do a couple of projects for museums and galleries, that was actually the area I wanted to go into. Because when you're actually, there's a couple of reasons for it, I suppose. One of them was if you're actually an art director or a creative director in like a company like that, which was reasonably big, I can't remember how many people there were now, but it was reasonably big and it was growing bigger and bigger all the time. You actually, creatively, you become very sort of hands-off. You actually start to get more and more of a team working with you, and you'll end up being sort of like an art director with sort of like a team of people underneath you, sort of like designers and junior designers, and you actually don't really sort of carry on doing the work yourself. And to me, that wasn't why I was actually doing this. I was always very kind of, I wanted to create, I wanted to make things. All the work which I've been showing you now, I haven't done all of it, but I've always been sort of like very involved in all of it. So I've been overseeing it and actually creating sort of like some of it. I won't necessarily have done all the illustrations and so on, but that for me was another really good reason for actually sort of moving out of a larger company into sort of like doing my own thing. So then in sort of about 96, set up my own company, and we started with the idea basically of doing our own work. I wanted to be hands-on, as I said, and I wanted to do museums, galleries, and visitor centres. Things that were actually about something, as opposed to what I perceived certainly at the time as a lot of corporate work, which is basically an ego massage for the clients you're actually working for, and that wasn't to me particularly interesting. So I moved into this other area. Now, the only thing I'd say is if you're actually thinking about sort of setting up your own company, that time where I spent actually going up to the point where I was a creative and art director was actually really, really valuable, because you learn how how a business works for a start. You learn how the area that you're, even if it's not completely related, how it sort of like fits into the whole kind of picture of new media. And also you make a lot of contacts. The most important contacts the contacts that I've created are now the ones that I should still use. The people from college and the ones which I went to work with, I often get work from now, which is one of the hardest things ever to actually get work. When you're sort of like a small company, one of the most difficult things is actually keeping up the flow of work. And it's really, really important to make sure you make those contacts early on. And so actually going and working in sort of like a bigger commercial company gives you those kind of experiences.